Alternatively known as the Sanctuary Moon, Green Moon, or IX3244-A. The forest moon of Endor makes its first appearance in the 1983 film Star Wars Episode VI: Return of the Jedi. As its name would suggest, the moon is covered in dense coniferous forests and towering redwood trees that provide shelter and sustenance for the moon's abundant indigenous life. It boasts a population of around 30 million, with Ewoks constituting 95% of the sapient species, Yuzum making up 4%, and the remaining 1% being comprised of Duloks and the subsapient Gorax and Wisti. The moon is a wet terrestrial with a reported radius just 38% the size of Earth. This seems small for a world that has been depicted as having a nearly Earth-like surface gravity, which some sources place at around 0.85 g. If accurate, this would give the moon an estimated mass just 12% that of Earth and an immense mean density of 12.17 grams per cubic centimeter. Its atmosphere is believed to be a mixture of oxygen and nitrogen, in a ratio that is generally considered breathable to humans, but surprisingly, liquid water appears to be rather scarce on the moon, covering only about 8% of its surface. The rest of the moon's water is presumably contained within its atmosphere and in its proliferous plant life, forming a tight water cycle in which precipitation is quickly absorbed before substantial runoff can occur, and then emitted back into the atmosphere during plant respiration. The forest moon is reported to have a synodic rotation period of 18 hours. This would likely also give it a synodic orbital period of the same length, given that it is a major moon orbiting a Jovian planet, and is, therefore, tidally locked, keeping one side facing its parent planet. This tidal locking would also provide a simple explanation as to why Endor does not appear in the sky during the events depicted in Return of the Jedi, being that said events likely happened on the far side of the moon. So there was no need to claim the planet was destroyed, nor perpetrate an elaborate hoax to suggest such. Given this 18-hour spin-orbit period, the forest moon likely orbits Endor at a distance of approximately 116,147 kilometers, or 0.3 lunar distances. The forest moon is the largest of the 9 major moons and 48 minor moons orbiting the planet Endor. Also known as Tana to the Ewoks, Endor is a small gas giant of 0.35 Jupiter radii, making it roughly the same size as the solar system planet Neptune. Based on extracanonical sources, it has a mass of only 12% that of Jupiter, which gives it a gravitational acceleration at its cloud tops of approximately 2.5 g and a mean density of around 3.58 grams per cubic centimeter. This is an unusually high mean density for a Jovian planet and suggests that Endor possesses a large rocky core, which isn't too surprising given that it is the only planet in the system and, as such, might be expected to have a higher than normal metallicity. Extracanonical sources also claim that it has a rotation period of around 30 hours, which, if true, would be remarkably slow for a gaseous planet, these usually having rotation rates between 5 and 20 hours. Endor orbits a pair of tight binary stars with a period of 402 standard days, 321.6 planetary days, or 536 local days. No type, mass, nor luminosity data exist for either of the stars in the system, which are labeled only as Endor 1 and Endor 2. Because apparently the denizens of that galaxy foresaw no issues with using the name Endor for both stars in the system, the sole planet, and one of its numerous moons. That's not going to be confusing at all. So, how does the Endor system measure up scientifically? For the forest moon to have a surface gravity even close to what is depicted in the films, and the diameter that is stated in the official lore, it has to have a mass over 1/10 that of Earth, squeezed into a volume 1/20th the size, giving it a mean density that would only be possible if the moon were made of solid iron. Otherwise, to be realistic, the forest moon's mean density should be between 5 and 6 grams per cubic centimeter, and its size should be over twice what it's currently listed as. -1 point. Beyond its orbital period, nothing is known about the orbit of Endor around its parent binary stars. It's believed to be in a P-type circumbinary orbit, orbiting the barycenter of both stars, but this is ultimately just a presumption. 0 points. Basically, nothing is known about the atmosphere or stellar flux of the forest moon. Therefore, nothing about its depicted climate can be verified. 0 points. The forest moon is too large to have formed around Endor. To be realistic, Endor needs to be more than 4,000 times more massive than its largest natural satellite. But it is only 73 times more massive than the forest moon. Not only would there have not been enough material present in Endor's primordial circumplanetary disk to form a moon that massive, especially in addition to 8 other similarly sized moons, but such a massive moon would have been destroyed during the formation process when tidal interactions and drag forces drew it down below its Roche limit. These issues would suggest that the forest moon might instead be a protoplanet that was captured into orbit of Endor. However, the presence of 8 additional major moons around Endor contradicts this, as the capture of a protoplanetary object would have a catastrophically disruptive effect on the orbits of any native moons. For the Endor system to exist as it is depicted in Star Wars canon, Endor would need to be around 6.5 times the mass of Jupiter, or the forest moon would need to be less than 1% the mass of Earth. -1 point. No data exists for either of the 2 stars in the system, so 0 points. With a total of -2 points, the forest moon of Endor from Star Wars receives an F2 grade. Unfortunately, an overly dense moon, a lightweight planet, and lore lacking sufficient technical detail results in a dismal grade that not even a last-minute intervention by angry teddy bears can resolve. Thank you for joining me in my analysis of the forest moon of Endor. From here, I'll be plotting a hyperspace jump back from a galaxy far, far away and toward another strange alien world. I hope to see you there. Until then, may the Force be with you.